You know that little packet of flower food that comes with your bouquet? The one that we all dutifully rip open and dump into the vase like we're performing a scientific experiment? Well, that stuff does actually help, but only at the start.
The thing is, most people fill the vase once, dump in their sachet and then leave it. But flowers don't really work like that. After a few days, the water turns murky, the bacteria starts to build up, and before you know it, your lovely roses look like they've been through a bad breakup.
Now the trick is to change the water regularly, and I'll show you exactly how often later in this video, but there is a problem.
We've already used up the plant food that came with the bouquet, so what do you add now to keep your flowers looking fresh and perky for weeks instead of days? Well, in this video I'll show you the simple trick that florists use to extend vase life without those tiny sachets, plus how to prep your flowers properly so they stay upright and stunning for as long as possible.
By the end, your flowers won't just survive, they'll still be making your kitchen smell amazing long after everyone else's are wilting in the compost bin.
Before we even think about adding anything fancy to the vase, the real secret to long-lasting flowers starts with how you prepare them. You can have the best trick in the world, but if your flowers go into that vase with dirty stems, then you're already fighting a losing battle.
When you unwrap your bouquet, it's tempting to just plonk the whole bunch straight into the water and call it a day. And I get it, they already look perfect and you want them on display, but the truth is those stems need a little spa treatment before they go in. So the first job, strip off the leaves that will sit below the waterline. Anything that's going to end up underwater has to go.
Leaves sat in water will rot, and as they decompose, they release bacteria that cloud up the vase and clog the stems, which means the flowers can't drink properly.
Once you strip the stems, the next step is cutting them properly.
Most of us, if we cut them at all, just snip straight across the bottom. But a straight cut can actually seal against the bottom of the vase, making it harder for the flowers to take up water.
Instead, you want to cut at a sharp angle, around 45 degrees. That creates a larger surface area for the stem to absorb water and helps stop it from sitting flush against the vase base.
It goes without saying that we should be using clean, sharp pruners here. Blunt blades crush the stem tissue, which again restricts water flow. It's a bit like stepping on a drinking straw.
Now before the flowers even touch the vase, make sure that it's spotless. I know this sounds obvious, but it's probably the most overlooked step.
A dirty vase harbours bacteria that immediately start multiplying the moment you add water, and bacteria is the last thing we want.
Now, let's talk about that mysterious sachet of plant food that comes with your bouquet. What's actually in it? It's usually a mix of 3 simple things: sugar, acid, and an antibacterial agent.
The sugar feeds the flowers and gives them energy. The acid helps balance the pH of the water so it's easy for the stems to drink. And the antibacterial agent keeps the vase water clean and stops the stems from rotting too fast.
When you dissolve that sachet, make sure it's fully mixed in before adding your flowers. If it just sits at the bottom of the vase, then you end up with uneven nutrients and it doesn't do much good.
At this point, your flowers are prepped and ready to go, but here's where most people go wrong. We walk away and forget about them.
The first few days are lovely, the water's clear, the flowers are nice and perky, and you feel like a domestic god.
But by day 3 or 4, things start to turn. The water gets murky and the stems get that kind of grim, slimy coating that we all hate. And that's when the wilting goes into overdrive.
This is because as soon as you add organic matter to water, even just the stems themselves, bacteria start multiplying. Within 48 hours, that vase turns into a petri dish.
When that happens, the bacteria block up the stem's drinking channels again, preventing flowers from taking up water.
That's why changing the water every other day is vital if you want them to last. Fresh water gives them a clean drink and flushes away all that bacterial build-up before it becomes a problem.
The problem, of course, is that you've already used your little sachet of plant food on day 1. So when you go to change the water, you're left with just plain old tap water, which doesn't contain any sugar, acid or antibacterial ingredients. And that's exactly what we're about to fix next with 3 basic household ingredients. You don't need to mix up any concentrate or keep any bottles of mysterious liquids under the sink. This is the actual water your flowers will sit in, so make it fresh every time you change the vase water.
For every litre of water, add 1 tablespoon of vinegar, 1 teaspoon of sugar and about 2 drops of bleach. That's it. 3 ingredients straight into the vase. Give it a stir, and you basically recreated that sachet of plant food your flowers came with, only better because you can make as much as you like whenever you need it. So let's break down what's happening here.
The vinegar might sound odd, but it's actually doing something really important. It slightly lowers the pH of the water, making it easier for the stems to absorb moisture. Most tap water, especially in hard water areas, is fairly alkaline, and that can slow down how quickly flowers take up water. So a touch of acidity helps keep the stems open and drinking freely.
White vinegar is perfect for this because it's clean and odourless.
If you don't have vinegar, then lemon juice is a great alternative. It's the same effect, and your vase water will smell nice and fresh too.
Then there's the sugar. Flowers, once they're cut, can't photosynthesize anymore, so they lose their energy source.
The sugar replaces that energy, keeping the bottoms firm and helping them stay vibrant for longer. But you don't need much though. A teaspoon per litre is plenty enough. Any more than that and you start feeding the bacteria instead.
And now, the bleach. The ingredient that sounds the most wrong, doesn't it? But it does actually make a big difference.
Don't worry, it's not enough to harm the flowers. Just 1 or 2 drops per litre keep bacteria and fungi from building up in the vase.
That's what stops the water turning cloudy and the stems getting that horrible slimy layer after a few days. It's basically keeping everything sterile so the flowers can drink properly.
If you'd rather not use bleach, then a few drops of hydrogen peroxide should work as well.
They're both antibacterial and do the same job of keeping the water clean.
If your tap water is really hard, then try using filtered water. Hard water has minerals that can block up the stem, so a softer option keeps things flowing more smoothly.
Once you've made your mix, give it a quick swirl and pop your freshly cut flowers straight in. That's their drink sorted.
Every other day when you change the water, just make a new batch. It only takes a few seconds and it makes a massive difference. Once your flowers are happily sitting in their vase with their freshly mixed drink, then there are a few extra things you can do to keep them looking good for as long as possible.
The first and easiest one is to keep them cool. Flowers last much longer in cooler temperatures because warmth speeds up everything from water loss to wilting and decay. Even just getting them away from direct sunlight or warm air from a radiator makes a huge difference.
Next, avoid placing them near fruit. It sounds strange, I know, but fruit gives off a gas called ethylene as it ripens, and that gas actually accelerates aging in flowers. So if your bouquet is sitting prettily next to a fruit bowl, it's quietly being gassed into early retirement. Keep the two separate and you'll gain several extra days of freshness.
And then trim the stems every few days. Even if you've already cut them when you first brought the flowers home, the ends will start to seal up over time, making it harder for water to travel up. Just take them out every other day when you change the water and snip a tiny bit off the bottom at an angle. It keeps the drinking channels open.
Also, remove any fading flowers or leaves as soon as you spot them. Once one bloom starts to go, it releases gases and bacteria that speed up the decline of everything around it. So a quick tidy up every couple of days should stop that chain reaction and keep the bouquet looking fresher overall.
Another useful tip is to keep the water level consistent. Flowers take up more water than you might think, especially in the first few days, so keep an eye on the vase and top it up when it starts to drop.
And keep another eye on the vase itself. As pretty as glass vases are, they can harbour bacteria if they're not cleaned properly.
Every time you change the water, just give the vase a quick wash out before refilling. It takes seconds, but it keeps the environment fresh and clean for the flowers.
And that's it. You should now be able to keep your flowers fresh for weeks rather than days. And for your next viewing pleasure, watch this video next.